Hello, everyone, and welcome back to For St. Pete's Sake, the only podcast here where we deep dive into everything political in Pinellas County, the state of Florida, and beyond. And today, boy, are we going beyond. I am your host, Christian Hotchkiss. I'm the president of the Stonewall Democrats of Pinellas County. I'm joined, as always, by my beautiful, lovely co-host, Laura Gerken. Laura, how are you today?
Hi, Christian. I'm doing quite well today. It is, just hanging out with the cats and having a good day and living another beautiful life here in Florida. So
It's bright, it's sunny, it's warm. It's a summer day. So
exactly.
I'm really excited. I don't know if you could hear it in my voice, but I'm very excited about who we have on tonight. I've been talking about this for weeks,
Absolutely.
ever since we got this first scheduled. So I just want to dive right into it. I know normally we like to do an introduction. I'm going to let you do your introduction, Rep. Proudie. Please give it up, thunderous round of applause for Representative Raychel Proudie from the state of Missouri.
Thank you. It is an absolute privilege and pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me, and thank you both for your patience with me. We have to run when we're called sometimes, and it is Missouri. I'm in Missouri, and so it's like that sometimes. And of course, with the world being like it is, it's probably going to be more of like that. For everybody, I am State Representative Raychel Proudie from Missouri, North St. Louis County specifically. And yeah, I'm excited to be here. I'm flattered to be asked.
Well, I saw you on TikTok, and I had to jump on it. You kind of gone viral over the past couple of months with your fiery speeches on the Missouri state floor. So I had to reach out, and I'm grateful that you answered and you said yes. So thank you.
Of course.
Absolutely. Laura.
So yeah, I really love. Christian has shared your TikToks as well with me, and I just know that you have been a fierce advocate in the Missouri State House. So I guess if you could start with just what inspired you to first run for office and what keeps you going in such a challenging political climate such as right now.
Sure. So we have term limits in Missouri. Let me say that. So we're one of 12 states that have term limits. And my predecessor was someone that I knew from high school. He's a little bit older. He's in my older brother's class. But I knew him, a little bit. I'd come home after living in Louisiana for 15 years and started teaching. I'm an educator by profession, certified school counselor. And so he was doing some weird stuff as a Democrat. He was the Democrat in 2016. His bill was right to work, which Governor Greitens, who ended up resigning in disgrace, signed it into law. He went from that to messing with schools. I don't know if he had a thing against unions or union jobs. Again, very, very weird position for a Democrat to take. And I wrote to him on Facebook and tried to appeal to him and say, hey, can we have coffee? Can we meet? Can we talk about this? Because this is the wrong direction. And he responded with, you do what I do. You do. I'm going to do what I do. And if you don't like it, run for office. I became a state representative and he went to federal prison.
Okay.
And you both ended up where you should be.
I would agree with that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's incredible. So I kind of want to dive into your background and things like that. So are you originally born and raised in Missouri?
That's right. Yes, I am born and raised in St. Louis County, North St. Louis County. St. Louis County is an interesting place in that it is a county. Everybody assumes it's St. Louis City, which is a different place. St. Louis City is a city not within a county. St. Louis County is a county with 88 municipalities. I live in Ferguson, Missouri. And yeah, I was born in a municipality called Castle Point. Grew up in the area that I am elected in. Very familiar with it, went to the school district here. So when I came home from Louisiana, I ran for office as soon as I was eligible, according to state statute. It was a task, misunderstand me not, but it was easier to do. Like I didn't have a campaign manager and I didn't have to do all of that because I knew the area. I know this area. I grew up here. I'm from here, and coming back here was coming home. I started teaching in Louisiana in a post-Katrina Baton Rouge. Immediately thereafter, Hurricane Katrina happened August of 2005.
Mhm.
I started teaching August of 2006 in Baton Rouge.
Wow.
Did that, decided instead of getting my master's degree in administration supervision to get it in school counseling. I had 31 third graders, and some of those children, saw, which are, they're adults now, my goodness, but some of those children, lost loved ones for the first time, saw dead bodies. Some were sexually assaulted in the Superdome. And having that experience, it's a time where the President of the United States and other citizens were calling citizens of the United States refugees. Refugees in your home country is crazy.
Yeah.
So that is what inspired sort of my path in education and activism. Had to have been Hurricane Katrina. Lost my first job as a teacher. Wasn't familiar with you have to call off work thing. During the Gina 6 protest, I just kind of went and didn't cover my class, so that'll get you got. And it just went from there. I came home almost right after the events of Ferguson. So I tell folks I'm the state representative for Ferguson, the noun and the verb. And all of those things sort of influence and impact the way I go about service. And it is also a super minority. I'm in the super minority party. In the House, it's 163 of us. There are 52 Democrats. And so there are 111 Republicans. So we're outnumbered almost 3-1. In the Senate, it's 10 Democrats and 24 Republicans. And so it's a lot of, we use the word dystopian a lot, but dystopian would be the way to explain it here, particularly when it comes to LGBTQIA plus issues and bodily autonomy issues. They are often conflated, and in fact, they were conflated when we beat the abortion ban in Missouri in November, to which Republicans want to put it back on the ballot with anti-trans language next November. And so these things, all of these things in a culmination over the last now 20 years have inspired. God, I was young then and I'm 42 now, but all of those things have inspired me to run into activism and to see I call them the nieces and nephews because they call me auntie. I guess my auntie age now. Being inspired and motivated to come into politics because they see that you could come from where I come from, and you don't have to be all prim. And now, auntie likes some good clothes. That's
Yeah,
as she should.
She go
As she
put some
should.
clothes on, but I enjoy seeing the youth get energized and pumped and ready. I don't believe the children are our future. The children are now. And it is time to get ready because our generation of millennials, we're not going to be doing, like we are opposed to doing this in our 70s and 80s, and believe that young people should be able to craft the world ultimately that they're going to live in. So all of those things influence my approach to this.
awesome. I mean, we down here in Florida, the Democrats are also in a mega minority, I guess you would say that too. So it is definitely something that we recognize in the struggle that our legislatures have, our Democratic legislatures have to deal with as well too.
It's not. Sorry, go ahead. I was going to say, it's not fun, but it's incredible to see that there are voices out there that will do stand up for the working class. I had mentioned this in one of our email correspondence that I actually have family up in Missouri, and they live in Anderson, which is just outside of Joplin, about an hour south. And they're on the other side of the political spectrum. Give them all the love that I can, but from over here. But it's good to see that you have different views from them, but you're still standing up for them. You say that and from a lot of your speeches on the floor, and like I said, a few of them have gone viral over the past few months. You actually went viral for your speech about reproductive freedoms. So let's talk about that for a second, because you guys did have a amendment, correct? An amendment last November?
That's right, a constitutional amendment.
Okay, so we had one here in Florida as well, but we did not hit the 60 point threshold. But you guys got yours passed, and it looks like you said, the Republicans are trying to get that back on the ballot. And I saw your floor speech from it, and it was just inspiring and incredible and amazing. So I want you to get into that and kind of tell us what you're seeing and what's next for that.
Sure. My very first year in office was 2019. And that was when Missouri passed the heartbeat bill.
Mm-hmm.
It was the most restrictive abortion legislation in the country with a trigger on it. One thing I can say, and I think this is important to say, I don't know if it's going to touch on something we'll talk about later, but it bears repeating if so. One of the things that we as Democrats absolutely struggle with is messaging, whereas Republicans don't have that problem, and they also, us as Democrats, have torch passing issues. Whereas we have 19-year-old big balls, and some kid that was a grocery store clerk is now over deporting human beings to any and everywhere as a 20-year-old. They are doing something that we're just not doing. And so, to your point, when they do something in Missouri, they do it in Texas, they do it in Florida, they do it in Tennessee, and they all do it at the same time. Same legislation, same time. They're on brand, they're on mark, and sometimes our party struggles with if we're going to be racist or not. Are we going to be homophobic or not? What are we, who are we as a party? What are we going to do? And so that was one of the ways that it was able to wriggle in. And it took a lot of money and a lot of work, not necessarily at the party, which we were absolutely a part of it, but it was the activists. It was the young men, the young women, the theys, the thems that came up, came out, had those clipboards, and got it done. Fortunately, it will be on the ballot in 2026. I have the privilege of serving as the ranking minority member on the Committee on Children and Families where this came through. Our Speaker of the House, first minority speaker in Missouri history, is a medical doctor, a surgeon. He knows better than this. And in fact, over interim or between the time he was sworn in, told the people that he was not going to entertain any attempts to overturn that. Republicans can be easily swayed. I have a U.S. senator that said he wasn't going to vote to take Medicaid and was a goddamn lie. So they do that. And when it comes to a point where we are more afraid, as politicians, are more afraid of other politicians than they are the people, then the people have conceded their power. And that's where we are as a party.
Agree.
I am absolutely tired of elected people telling or saying that, oh, the people did not understand X, Y, and Z. That is a pet peeve of mine. Like when I said, who do we think we are? I meant that. Like, who do we think we are? And when I say I've heard some of them read out loud, I wasn't being facetious. I wasn't trying to be
One of my
funny.
favorite lines.
A lot of people take, that's the line as I understand it. But I'm saying that in seriousness. The IUD being a landmine part, that I didn't come up with the material. It wasn't because I was brilliant. It's because that's what they said.
Right.
I do think it's the right thing to say, hey, you don't have to have a degree. You don't have to have this, that, and the other to be in office. And that's exactly how it should be. That's how it should be. Elitism isn't going to save us. However, you don't get a boosted IQ because you got lucky one Tuesday in August. So to say that people who picked you don't know anything better beyond picking you is absolutely insulting, and offensive. And so I just wasn't. I wasn't having it. I want Republicans to be more offended by things like this, despite you may feel a kind of way about the law or the legislation. You're wrong, but you have the right to feel how you feel. But you should absolutely be appalled that politicians are here saying that you're too stupid to know what you're voting for, except when you vote for me.
Right.
And I lost it. You've seen clips of that speech. I went off for quite a while, delayed the inevitable because they just have the numbers that we don't have. But unfortunately, that's what we have, and we need more people to flip these seats. It's just as simple as that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about Emily's List, who is, that's a group that helps people decide to run for anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be state or federal. They'll help you run for city council. And I've heard I heard on this podcast saying that they're having a hard time finding people to run for Democratic stuff right now. And I think that is, a lot of that is people are worried about, like, well, I can't be good enough because I didn't go to college, or I'm only a plumber, or I'm just a teacher. I'm not sophisticated enough. And like, I'll tell you, we've had majority of lawyers running this country for the past 50 years, and it hasn't gone out really well anyway. So like, I would love to see more teachers who have that, who come from compassion, just because that's what their calling generally is, comes from. So I would love to see more, yeah, more younger people for sure. And then definitely, variety of careers, because that's how we have our strongest party for sure. For sure.
Absolutely. And let me also say, there are so many seats that we can run for. We concentrate on state level seats. We completely ignore the school boards where, as a state, now I can say as a state legislator and educator, we're going to push as much responsibility off. And in our state, school boards are 7 people. We're going to push most of that responsibility off uh, to implement what we tell, what we say in the legislature, off to those school board members. We skip those seats. We skip the county council seats. We overlook these boards and commissions. We're overlooking the local seat. All politics is local. People say it all the time. That is the absolute truth. It's the truth. It's going to shape your congressional seats. It's going to shape all of those things. So I agree with the approach of, hey, run for something. But again, I think these organizations need to make it clear that there are so many other seats, because that's how they take over. The reason we're here banning books now is because the right were able to get those people in to school board seats, to pick superintendents that are going to be like what they have going on in Oklahoma, because we are overlooking that they are running for their city councils who are turning human beings over to ICE. We don't even know if these people are ICE for real. It could just be random people putting masks on, acting a fool, and we would be none the wiser, because it's not like they're showing us ID. That's the type of situation having a city council like that lends to. And that's because we skip right over all of those and go to these seats. That's not to say don't think you can. I can tell you now, I was not the establishment choice for this seat. And it was hurtful as a Black woman, because these were other Black people who have aligned and subscribed themselves to white supremacy and the elitism that comes with being in a seat. I'll be honest with you, it's raggedy around here. And it's like that because we have gotten content with, we have a Democrat here, or we have a Black person here, and they're not doing anything. And so we have to focus on that. And having those people on the school board and on city councils, on boards and commission, makes my job as a legislator easier, because we can work in tandem. These townships we have, our townships in North St. Louis County, exist only to run coordinated campaigns and riff some money off of it. I'm not going to lie. And I don't care who gets mad that we say it. You have to be active consistently, not just activate when people are going to pay dues because they want to vote to endorse their cousin or something. That's the only time they're ornamental and not functional, and then we wonder why we're getting our teeth kicked in. We're not running for committee man and committee woman or committee person seats. We are skipping those steps. And so I appreciate Emily's List. My first term, Emily's List did endorse me. I do want them to be responsible and include the fact that not just run for something, but here are some races that we should focus on, because this is where a lot of it starts there. And I can say this, it's easier to lobby than it is 163.
For
Some
sure.
of our school board members are out here getting trips and getting, the rules are different. Like here in Missouri, legislators have, not only do we have term, we have campaign finance limits.
Mhm.
If you're running for state rep, the highest one person can give to your campaign committee is $2,000. For Senate, $2,400 per election cycle.
Mhm.
School board here in Missouri don't have that. Somebody can write a $1 million check to a school board member, and it is what it is. They get to go on trips in Missouri. Pass something called Clean Missouri. I can't accept a gift or a trip, or I can't get a cheese and crackers from a lobbyist. But school board members can. City council members can.
That's wild.
In every state, it is easier to lobby a school board than it is to lobby your state legislator. And we're looking legislatures, and we are looking over those locals. I cannot stress that enough. Yes, run for something, but if you're concerned about how they are treating you, are treating children, are treating youngsters in these schools, those school board members are responsible for that. And they deserve voices too. These city council, again, I cannot, if you've seen these videos of our immigrant community and how they're being treated, and it's not even all immigrants. It's if you're a little bit too tan, if you are
Exactly.
looking at how these people are being treated, some of our local government is in cahoots with this foolishness. And so I can't stress that enough. Run for something, but make sure we're covering our bases as a party, because their shoulders are.
Oh yeah, and the Republicans have been doing that for decades. That's how like you said, that's how we are where we are now, is because they focused on those local levels for decades now. And people don't realize that when you come out and you vote for a president and you say, "Oh, I voted for Joe Biden in 2024." Okay, well, how'd you vote the rest of the ballot?
Yeah.
What did you do down ballot? When you were voting for city council and county commission, because those people have direct impacts on your lives. People think that the president has direct impacts on their lives. They don't. It's the city council, it's county commission, it's school board, it's the mayors, it's the commissioners, like you were saying, the board of all these different boards and things like that we like you said, we overlook, and they have total control over. So it is very important, and that's something that I can announce here. That's something that we're focused on as the Stonewall Democrats. Is we're focusing next year on city council races, on the mayor's race, on county commission, and on school board specifically. We are not going above that in regards to, endorsing or anything like that, going crazy. So we're going to make sure that we find some good candidates for these lower down ballot seats.
Excellent.
Because it is just important. So I want to, you touched on this a little bit. You're from Ferguson. I want to touch on that because we all know what happened in 2019. And so correct me if I'm wrong, but how many generations are you in Missouri now?
Oh, child, quite a few. Let me see. My ancestors were enslaved by the Jesuits, and the oldest institution of higher education, the oldest college west of the Missouri River, is St. Louis University. My ancestors built that. They were owned by the Jesuits who ran St. Louis University. So I can trace it that far back. And then on the other side, I'm Haitian. And so, but yeah, my family literally built, the prestigious school in the state. And so, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not
and so
too
when
far
we had,
from Ferguson.
Yeah.
Yeah, so back in 2019, when the Black Lives Matter movement really took off, it started with Mr. Floyd, and how has that shaped kind of where you've gone and where you're at now and what you see in the future and things like that?
I was prepared for it because of Hurricane Katrina. That's a very good question. I've been asked it before. That's an excellent question, actually. So very often when the movement is hot, that flash it, like when it's fresh as it was in 2020, the opportunities are so vast. One of the issues we have is capitalizing on the attention and opportunity while we have that, and make sure that we have an axe. Now, we were a little bit better with it after George Floyd's murder than we were with Mike Brown. But seeing and noticing and recognizing we have a movement and everybody wants to be uh, the greater salvation for it. Like it was just too much going on. To like we have common demands, and we weren't saying that because we were spending so much time arguing about who was the face of this and who led what and why. And then something else happened, and now we're here, right?
Right.
And so being prepared for it and seeing it happen from Hurricane Katrina to Mike Brown to George Floyd and seeing it happen over, Trayvon Martin, pardon me, Jordan Davis, over and over and over. Again, it's something that the right has down pat, and it's not to sit here and glaze the right. What I'm saying is you have to know your opponent to combat your opponent, and you can't pretend that they're not doing something, or give them, I hate to say, props, and act like they're not doing it when they are. Because who are you convincing? Those are some things that we should absolutely be doing. So it didn't necessarily shape, because I was kind of used to the ebb and flow. Unfortunately, as a Black person, these things tend to pop up every 5 or so years. It's 2025. I'm honestly bracing myself for something, especially given this administration. Black fatigue is real, and if you're a Black person in America, a Black woman particularly, this happened. Like, you're ready for this because it's tiring. We should not be prepared for it, but
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting this moment politically, and like just everything that's going, politically, financially, everything. It's like it's very this is the first time in my life that I'm really seeing the cyclical nature of these things. You know, I mean, we're throwing it back to, the early 2000s, get looking for WMDs in the Middle East that don't exist, and starting wars without congressional approval. And, and yeah, like you said, Katrina, just, some natural disaster impending that the government's gonna, completely whiff on, because we are defunding the National Weather Organization and NOAA, and us here in Florida, we're right on the Gulf, so it's making us super nervous. But it's just, I'm in a chat group with a lot of people who are younger, and like this is their really first foray into politics, has been the last like 5 years. And I hate it. I don't love. I love that everybody's engaged, but like it gets me. I'm saying this. Well, when I was 20, I remember. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're there already. But you're right. You've definitely, especially being in Louisiana post Katrina, then you've seen a lot of this firsthand. The way like the government can really go out of its way to mistreat people.
For sure. I was 20 during Hurricane Katrina. It's a funny paradox. So yeah, I also think it's important for us, don't be so centered on making a point that you fail to make a difference.
Exactly.
Hungry people who are starving, don't have time to wait. And sometimes we have a level of elitism in activism. See, all of these things I picked up on from Louisiana. Seeing it kind of happen here, and post George Floyd, I'm not a tinfoil hatter, but I am a Black person who believes that the government sends people in to infiltrate our movements. I know that for a fact happened in Ferguson, and I believe that to be true, period. And if we're not keeping our head on a swivel and get our messaging tight, and our message has to be an America for all, housing is, we have to have, bodily autonomy. We have to say, hey, my genitals, or the lack thereof, none of your goddamn business. We have to have a message, not some of the time. Again, it bears repeating. So I'm like you. I don't want to be like, well, back in my day.
Yeah.
Because as millennials, we've been boomered to death with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I do want to be, I don't want any of the youth to be treated like I was treated coming into this.
Exactly.
I want to be them to be comfortable coming to me and saying and express, because and the work is hard for a lot of folks, like you said in your group chat, who are coming into this work. You're gonna cry, it's gonna piss you off, you're gonna mess up. All of those things are going to happen so long as you don't be so focused on, I gotta make this point, that you're not making a difference to the people you call
Exactly.
yourself serving.
Precisely.
Absolutely. All right. So, speaking on social justice and advocacy, Missouri, like Florida, it's been at the center of anti-LGBTQ legislation. And I've heard your speeches and things like that, but I want you to tell kind of our audience, how have you been fighting back against that, and how have your colleagues and yourself been working in that state legislature to try and combat some of these bills that have come out?
Well, let me start that answer by saying I'm an old school hag from way back. I'm not new to this, honey. I'm true to this. I'm not yet iconic, but I am legendary. I'm working on it. And
that.
so let me go back. I won't say I'm legendary, but I have walked the balls with the legendary children. I'm that type of hag. I'm an old school, old language hag.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for years and years and years. Me and my friends were the type of people that we went to prom and made sure that we were safe. And I'm thinking of Jamie, my best friend Jamie in high school, provided a safe haven for we had people back in my day, which we still have today. So this part isn't new, getting kicked out of their house because they were, gay or questioning and things like that. I have been doing this for years. It's not, I came into the legislature and I had to align myself to believing that people have a right to exist, period. And you don't have to believe in something. If you don't believe in it, you don't do it. Believe everybody else the hell alone. It's such a basic thing to say. These people, these human beings pay taxes, and if you love the Constitution and all this bullshit that you say you love, then you should feel how I feel, that these people pay taxes, and because of this, they are entitled to the same things that I'm not trying to preach, but entitled to the same things we're all entitled to. And when we get to a point as a government where we don't agree with that, we need to start rebating people their tax dollars back or something. They pay for access to the things. This includes being able to be married, to make healthcare decisions. I should be able to pick who does that. The government should not. You can't have it both ways and say, the parents should have rights and then take their rights when it comes to the healthcare of their child.
Exactly.
All of these things are things that I've believed since I was a child. As far as the legislature and things are concerned, there are so many times where I've had Republican colleagues, after they've taken a shitty vote, come in the back of chambers or on the side gallery to try to explain that they're sorry, but they had to vote a certain way because they were scared to get primaried, or that they wouldn't be able to run for Senate or for Congress. We've had Republicans who were in the LGBTQ community to vote against their own selves for the sake of winning an election. And my question would be, if you have to do that and not be yourself, then why are you still trying to squeeze in the place where these people telling you they don't want you? As a Black person, I don't understand. I don't want to be a place where I don't want it. Let me know. I can save my goddamn money.
Right.
But that pisses me off. Hey, I'm sorry. I really, you know my heart, and I have to explain the same way that being homophobic, they say, well, it's not in my heart. The fuck about your heart? What is on this paper? Being homophobic or being intentional is not requisite for being homophobic. Policies are. And what they've started to do, and you'll see this around the country, is one, if you have a constitutional amendment process that is 50+1, we have that in Missouri. the legislatures that have that, they're going to try to increase that. They try to increase ours like you all have in Florida. Our Senate filibusters it down. That's one way. We don't have filibuster power in the House. I am running for Senate. And one thing you all know I can do is talk. So I want to bring my talents there to combat these type of things. With that being said, the reason that they're trying to raise that threshold is exactly what they're doing to the anti-abortion constitutional amendments we have. When we say reproductive rights, they want people, they call it ballot candy. They're going to tell their constituents, they mean cut off kids' genitals, and they're going to do that. That means hormone, like their use of hormones, or understanding of hormones, is absolutely comical. It would be comical if it didn't have real world implications for the mental health of children and their families. But they're going to use that to get to not only their people, but some of those, again, Republicans that are on. I'm a Democrat here, except for on these issues here.
Mhm.
Or I don't want to cut on children like that, because they're going to try to appeal to that sense of it when the language on the ballot says something else. So we've not only have we been combating that, especially in our city, and I have to big up the Democrats in the Missouri Senate, because there are days where they have not adjourned and have been going on, just the 10 of them, for 50 plus hours on these issues. But we have to, at this point, be on offense to tell the people that this is happening. And so much of what's going on when I say the playbook is so cold, so much on the federal level is such a distraction that we're paying attention to that while they're doing all of this groundwork. They're coming. They hate it. If you colored, crippled, or queer, they're coming for all of us. And there are strength in numbers. I can't hate on the Mexican and blacks, we don't have time for that shit.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have space for it. They hate all of us.
Absolutely.
And so that's building that coalition is how we're going to do that. Gen Z has that down pat. They're doing an excellent job with that, like never before. I am so encouraged by that. And they will stand up for each other out loud and in public. They're starting to come into legislatures and able to run for office. And I absolutely am thrilled and encouraged that over the next 10 years, so over the next 3-4 federal election cycles, I think we're going to see some warriors. Cultivating those warriors is another thing that we do. Again, I'm not going to be 60 doing this. And in fact, if somebody comes and makes me a housewife, I'm going to holler at y'all. But
Got to do what you got to do.
But baby, okay? I want to have the youth in a place. If we're not talking about bench building, we are doing a disservice to our values and to our issues. So that's something that I think, that's something that we are doing, particularly the younger millennials are very serious about that, as are Gen Z, and making sure, which is something Republicans do, our vice president is 40, right?
Yeah.
And so they're making sure that when they come into these roles, they aren't spending 2 terms learning, getting their asses kicked, and the people suffer. So making sure that these people who are interested in running and are serious are equipped with what they need, not just the process and procedure, but mentally.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, I was 218 pounds. I'm 145 now because of the stress and the drama. Being elected doesn't exempt you from the human experience. People still die. People still have your family. So making sure that they are ready and prepared. Warriors have to be prepared. And that's one of the things that and I go in my purse. And donate to their campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
Campaigns cost money. Millions of people lost their Medicaid. And just think that if we combated that by just giving $20, we could, people are going to die. So we have to prepare. We have to prepare our warriors for battle. And that's something that Democrats need to do. And that's what we are doing in the Missouri legislature.
Well, I love that you mentioned, that you might have, some aspirations to move up to, is it Missouri State Senate?
That's right.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I guess tell us a little bit more about your priorities for like the next legislative session, and what should your voters and just everybody be keeping an eye out for?
Absolutely. If you haven't learned this from all the foolishness going on in the country, the most important committee in any legislature is the Committee on Budget.
Mm-hmm.
I am the only person from St. Louis County. St. Louis County is the largest county in Missouri. We have 1/6 of the entire population of Missouri. I'm the only person, not only Democrat, not only woman, I'm the only person from St. Louis County on the House Committee on Budget. All budget bills are House bills, and I'm the only one. Budget is everything. That's how you are getting funding for the thing.
Right.
Poor people pay taxes too.
Mm-hmm.
And damn it, they deserve a return on their investment. So the speech that you all saw, where I was talking about capital gains and standing up for working people, the way that we do that is for them to get a return on their investment. Working class people should not come home or come and as raggedy as a motherfucker around here because their legislators are going down to the legislature basking in the fact that they're elected, not trying to money home. We can pass all this legislation we want, but every bit of legislation we pass, there's a cost attached to that in one way or another, and that goes through the appropriations process. So we can say things like, hey, we want to create, I passed a bill about the unhoused and giving them housing. With what? There's some money attached to that. So for all of the things that you want to do, all of the priorities you have, and this is for anybody listening, when you come into office, it doesn't matter what elected office it is. This is school board as well. Your main duty is to be a steward of tax dollars. That's your only constitutional duty. That's the way that you make sure that the people get a return on their investment. My main priority is that state budget, and to make sure I take it personally when people say I serve an underserved community. We're under resourced, but I sure as hell serve them. The remedy for an unserved community is to serve it. It is my job to make my community underserved, and if that's my whole priority. When people say you serve them, when they say you serve the underserved community, if you are an elected person of an underserved community, you should take that personal because that's what they're saying about me. I'm their representative. That they are feeling that they're underserved. What am I not doing? And what did the people before me not do? My main goal is to state budget and to turn what people call an underserved community to a served community.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Absolutely. So I look forward to seeing that. And one thing I want to touch on real quick before we move on to our final segment is, we've talked a little bit about it here and there, but Florida and Missouri have a lot of the same sort of makeup of their legislature. We're in the super minority here in Florida. You're in there in Missouri. We see it across, Texas and Oklahoma and things like that. So what is your message to not only Missourians, but Floridians who are in the same boat as you and trying to navigate the super majorities that they see on the Republican side? What's your message to them, and a message of hope, of leadership, whatever you want to give it?
Absolutely. Both of those things. If I didn't have hope and belief that things would change, I should not be doing this job. That's the point of me doing this job. That's my job. Do be encouraged. For me, and I guess this may be the teacher thing, but for me, the youth encourage, like I am so encouraged and impressed with our youngsters, with our youth. That's encouraging to me. I want them to pay attention and be on alert, be well versed, know what you're talking about, learn those numbers, hold these people accountable, and show up. Go and know what you're talking about. It's one thing to run for office, but if you've never been to a school board meeting, then running for school board is nuts. Right. You can. I would rather it be you, even if that's the case. But I also want you to get in there and be successful. worry less about going viral. I didn't try to go viral. I wasn't even going to speak. I had to speak on the abortion one, but I wasn't going to speak on the capital gains one, and that was the one. When you're doing what you were elected to do and focusing in on the people, that's when those types of things happen. But again, do not be so focused on making a point that you fail to make a difference. And you will make a difference when you do things like that. I have had the privilege to be the only Democrat committee chair in the Missouri legislature for 2 terms. My very first committee assignment in the Missouri legislature was that of a vice chairmanship.
Wow.
So I've been blessed. But I am encouraged. I'm encouraged by the youth. Shit, they're so smart. Use that, knowing that you're smart. Get in here and learn the job. Go see what these people are and aren't doing, so that when you run for office, you can call their ass out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So then with that, I would encourage representatives across the board, across the Democratic Party, if you're on the local level, hire some of these people, give them internships, bring them into the fold, start training them. Like you were saying, let's get our bench warm. We have to set up for the next generation, and they won't be able to do it by themselves. So we, as our elected Democrats now, we have to, and I know you're doing it, so I'm not calling you out specifically, but I will call the other Democrats out. We have to build that bench. And I'm so grateful that you're doing the work and putting your money where your mouth is, quite literally. One of the things that you said is that you pull money out of your campaign finance or campaign every Monday to go drive Meals on Wheels.
That's right.
And, it's something that you don't ask for any sort of recognition on, but you're there doing the work. And so we definitely need people like you across the aisle, across the board in the Democratic Party. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful to see you there. And thank you for sticking up for all of the Missourians.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. So Laura, do you have any other questions?
No, I think now would be a really great time to hop into our last segment, our shout out or shutdown.
Let's do it.
As our listeners will remember, we pick a story. Each of us will pick a story or a situation that's happened recently, and we either want to give it a shout out because it was positive and it's awesome, and we want to give people their flowers, or we shut them down and we call them out and we let them know what's up. So, I'm being nice this week, and I have a shout out. So
Go ahead.
I can go ahead and start. My shout out is to the firefighters and first responders in Mexico that have come up into Texas to help with the flooding that has gone on in Texas. Obviously, we've had first responders and firefighters from all over Texas and Arizona and California come to respond to that. But I definitely want to shout out the president of Mexico and the organizations in Mexico that have made the affirmative decision to come over and help, especially with all the massive crap that our current government and leader and the president has said about Mexico and Mexicans. I think that, it just really shows that, people, when it comes down to it, it comes down to compassion and empathy and caring for each other. And, we can leave all that terribleness behind and do what we need to do in that moment. So that's my shout out for this week.
Absolutely. I love that. I absolutely love that. Yeah, it goes to the point that borders aren't real. Borders are imaginary. Exactly that. So them coming up and helping us out, exactly that. I have a shutdown, and it's something that's come out recently, but we've been hearing about it for a while. I've got to shut down all this bullshit that's been going on with Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I need to tell y'all, and I'm gonna speak on it for a minute, because Trump, for his entire first term and his entire campaigning for his second term, he always said he was going to release the files. You got to make it transparent. Well, here we are in the day of Lord, the year 2025 of our Lord and Savior, where they said Jeffrey Epstein didn't have nothing wrong with him. He didn't have a list of anything. Trump's not affiliated at all. Meanwhile, his best friend, who's drug addicted in California, called him out on X for it. So I find it so asinine, and so I don't understand how people see this and hear this and don't recognize that it's bullshit. Jeffrey Epstein is a horrible human being who has a history of sexual abuse on children. And there's so much proof of that. There's so much evidence of that. And just because one person now comes out and says that, oh, there's no list, there's, he wasn't killed in jail, blah, blah, blah. We have this whole long video, except there's a minute missing that just so happens 1 minute every night in the federal jail system is missing. And it's like, I have to shut it all down because it's absolutely insane. And for anybody who thinks that Trump is not involved in some way on Epstein Island, come on, guys, get your head out of your stand. Get your head out of the sand.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just,
yeah.
God.
And of course, that's, our
off.
former Attorney General, Miss Pam Bondi, another someone from Florida, which she and, Mr. Trump and Mr. Gates have their own little triangle of bad relationships. So yeah, that's a great call out. That is a great shutdown. It is just it's too much. It's too much.
Yeah. All right, we're Proudie.
Yeah.
Hate to end on this note, I also have a shutdown.
That's perfect.
And my shutdown is for my U.S. Senator, Senator Josh Hawley.
Mm-hmm.
It's been few times in my 4 decades on earth that I used these in front of my mother. And yesterday was one of those times. Yesterday, Senator Hawley had a press conference here in North St. Louis County to tout a provision in H.R. 1, House Resolution 1, which is what Republicans call the Big Beautiful Bill, and it's the RECA portion, which is the Radiation Exposure Compensation. What it did is it included Missouri in there where it was not. Missouri, St. Louis area specifically, my district specifically almost. Well, I mean, there are other ones, but every zip code in my district is covered under the compensation for this. The compensation is that you can either get all of your medical expenses reimbursed with receipts if you submit them to the Department of Justice, where lawyers are, not physicians. And if they decide to cover your medical expenses or give you $50,000, which is a settlement, emphasis on settlement. He will ultimately contend that was the reason why he voted on H.R. 1, because it had this in it for Missouri. That's not what he voted for because Donald Trump wanted him to. Let me say this. Again, every zip code in my district is on the extension, which means that they can apply. Doesn't mean they're going to get it. That means they can apply for either getting their medical expenses covered or the $50,000. Again, everyone. Personally, I have lupus. I have an autoimmune disease. Mm-hmm. Autoimmune diseases are covered. If it came down to me personally and mine getting a $50,000 settlement or their bills paid, and millions of Americans, including some of the very people having health care, I'm going to pick health care for millions every time. Every time. What am I going to do with $50,000 when proton therapy for brain tumors is $40,000, right? MRIs are $5,000. Blood work is $1,500. So they're going to get 10 of those, or they'll get 10 EpiPens. You get diabetes medicine is almost $2,000 and 2 years of those, and they have settled. People are going to die. Yeah. I am disappointed with the Democrats who stood with them, talking about at least it's something. So I'm calling them out as well, because they elected us to not give them the least of any damn thing.
Right.
I'm not fighting for at least anything. There was no excuse to vote on this bill that passed by one vote in the Senate. People are going to die, some an agonizing death. I would rather walk in radioactive waste, glowing in the dark like Ninja Turtles, and be responsible for millions of people, children, individuals with disabilities, and seniors, not having health care. As far as them having their health care bills covered, maybe with receipts, they got fucking Medicaid. Their bills were already covered. Right. And so I'm calling that out. I'm so sick of the glazing and dick riding that they do of this orange son of a bitch, that it makes me absolutely sick. Shame on the Democrats for saying, oh, at least I got something. to my cousins in every other state.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, this is the BBB, the HR1. It's definitely, again, going back, everything's cyclical. It's straight up pork barrel of the 90s. Like, it's just pork barrel politics from the 90s. It's
Imagine
just
being a foster kid that was usually covered by Medicaid until 26 in a state where their children's division captures their benefits, like if they had a life insurance policy, pay their expenses, then turn around and slap work requirements on them for health care. Ain't that a bitch?
That's I want to tie this into a personal experience because my brother, he's technically my second cousin. Both my younger brothers are technically my second cousins, and they're both on the spectrum. My youngest brother is severely on the spectrum. He's on disability, on Medicaid, and now he's going to have to go find work in order to get his benefits. And it's sick because he's 20 years old and he just graduated high school, and I'm so proud of him. And he's a capable young man. I don't want to say that he's not, but he shouldn't have to go and find work to get the basic necessities out of life. And so whenever somebody says, they support this bill, and my father's on Medicaid, and it's so personal, and to see it happen this way is like you said, we got to call our own people out, and I will continue to do that. So
absolutely.
thank you. I want to have you back. I will get with you, and I want to have you back on here so many times. I appreciate you so much for coming on tonight, and we're going to have you back. We're going to have you back. Thank you.
It will be my pleasure. Thank you all so much for having me. Stay up, take care of yourself, tend to your mental health, and love on each other. We need our warriors to be ready for battle.
Yes.
For sure. Thank you again. Thank you so much, Rep. Proudie, for coming on tonight. And please remember to like and follow the podcast. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We're at forsaint.petesake. You can subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you wanted to give us a little rating review, that wouldn't hurt either. We'll be back next week with more stories from the people who are doing the hard work to make our community better. Until next time, for St. Pete's sake, keep pushing for change.